And behold, there came a great wind from the wilderness.
Number 19, or we on 19, or let's go to the next verse.
You on 20.
Number 20.
Then Job arose.
Job arose. Job got up. He did what?
And he rent his mantle.
He rent his mantle.
And shaved his head.
He tore his clothes. He ripped them. And a mantle was like a short, a coat, a sleeveless short coat that they wore over him. Sometimes there was a belt around it. He rent it. He tore it. And he did what else?
And shaved his head.
He shaved his head. Watch this. Hold on. This was a way of showing great sorrow.
That's right. That's right.
He was showing sorrow. He was hurting.
That's right.
He didn't know what else to do. There comes a time when this is going to happen to every one of us.
It's going to happen.
He didn't know what to do.
Amen.
He was sorrowful. His heart hurt. He lost his whole family.
Yeah.
He lost everything.
Yeah.
In a matter of a day.
That's right.
All gone. Can you see a mother and a father grieving? I remember years ago, was a beautiful couple that just had a small baby, just had a baby girl. The little girl was probably 4 months old. It was Christmas Eve. They were traveling down I-435. And somebody coming in the opposite direction, inebriated, intoxicated, under the influence, driving the vehicle, came across the median and struck this family head on and killed all of them instantly. And the one only received some minor injuries. Every year. This happened back in the early 90s, 92, 93. Every year, Christmas Eve, their family has their picture in the call paper every single year. Their hearts are hurting. They are still sorrowful.
Yeah.
Paul said in Romans, the 12th chapter, verse number 15, weep with them who do weep, but rejoice with them who do rejoice. So we weep with our brothers and sisters when traumatic events like this, these tragedies take place in our lives. But I want you to know something. If you look at verse number 20 again, I want you to see something that Job did. It said, read verse number 20 again.
Then Job arose.
It said he arose.
And rent his mantle.
He rent his mantle, shaved his head.
And fell down upon the ground.
And then he fell. Now watch it. He fell down.
Upon the ground.
Up on the ground.
And worshipped.
Amen.
And he worshipped. See, let me tell you what our problem is. See, we get confused. If you don't think God's going to test you, if you call yourself a servant, and he's identified, that's the key. He's identified you as his servant. Have you considered my servant blank? Can we put our names there?
That's good. That's deep. That's deep.
Can we put our names in the place of Job.
Reality.
And have the patience of Job. Have the trust and confidence and faith in God like Job did. When calamity strikes, when trials hit, when strife is at its highest, when the tribulations seem to come one after another.
Yeah.
It's all right to be sorrowful and to weep.
Yeah.
Job's name signifies exactly that. But at some point in time, you and I, we got to get up and we got to worship the Almighty God. That's what he did. See, what we do is we step away from the church. We move away from the folks that have our best interests at hand. We start reaching out to the world. And you know how it is when sister girl talks to sister girl. And sister girl tells sister girl, well, honey girl, this is how I do it. See, now watch this. If I was married, I'd do it this way. See, you can't tell me what I ought to do if you're not involved in doing it yourself. I need a teacher that's going to be able to teach me. I'm going to be a pupil, and I'm going to learn from someone who has experienced something that I'm going through. Isn't that all right? Everybody in here ought to say amen. Because all of us have been through something that can help somebody else who's going through the very same thing that you're going through. Isn't that all right? Isn't that all right? See, there comes a time when we gotta worship, but we wanna do everything else. We want to call on our buddy. We want to call on homie. You know, not homie the clown, but you know, homie. Somebody who we can talk to. Somebody who we consider their speech valuable to us. But he ain't a member. He ain't involved. He don't tell you the very first thing you ought to do is drop to your knees and begin to pray. He don't tell you that. You see? So we got to remember that the type of man that Job was. He was a perfect man. Meaning he was complete. He was blameless. We got to remember that Job was an upright man. That means he was a straight man. He was a straightforward man. Extremely candid. Very frank. Didn't sugarcoat anything. He was very truthful in his dealing with folks, and he was one that feared God. That he understood the beginning of wisdom and knowledge was the fear of God. So he obeyed God's commandments. He obeyed God's instructions. And then finally, Job was the type of man who he shunned, he avoided, he eschewed evil. Anything that was evil, he addressed it. And how did he address it with his own children? He dropped down on his knees and began to pray and send up burnt offering for any sin that they might have committed. What is that telling us today? What are we learning from this lesson today? That you and I ought to always put our trust in God. Amen. It doesn't matter what we're going through, because we're going to go through some stuff. We are definitely going to go through some things. Listen, church. Well, Crutchfield, turn over to Job, the 42nd chapter. I want you to see that this man, after all that Job went through, he was a man of integrity. All of the relationships, of the relations of his life. He was a man of integrity as a father. He was a man of integrity as a husband. And he was a man of integrity when he worshiped God. Listen, he reminds me of Noah. Because in Genesis the 6th chapter, verse number 9, the Bible said that Noah was perfect in his generation. The Bible said Noah was perfect in his generation. That means that Noah did exactly what Job did. He obeyed God's instruction. Now listen, watch this. I want you to see this. First of all, before you read that, some are confused at the persecution that Job went through. Do you know that Satan came back, met with the sons of God again? God said again, in Job the 2nd chapter, Satan, hence where do you come from? He said, I'm going to and fro into the earth, back and forth into the earth. What he's doing is saying that I'm going down here and I'm messing up man. I'm looking for man. 1 Peter the 5th chapter verse number 8 said that Satan is like a roaring lion, seeking who he can what? Devour. He's looking. That's his job. He never rests. There is no coffee break. He never takes a 10-minute break. There is no lunch break. He never sleeps. He never slumbers. His job is to take us to hell with him and his angels. So that's what he meant when he told God what he was doing. And God said again, have you considered my servant Job? Remember, God allowed Satan to take everything from him. Everything. And God still put emphasis on the fact that this man was a just man. He was a complete man. He was one that exterred evil. He was one that avoided evil. And he was one that feared God. He said, Satan, there he is. And Satan said, well, you done build a hedge around him. He said, but if I touch his flesh for flesh and for bone, he'll curse you to your face. God said, go right ahead. Go right ahead. Do your thing. Just don't take his life. See, God has some power over Satan. So Satan went down and touched Job. And the Bible said that he had boils from the bottom of his feet to the crown of his head. He struck him with leprosy. And the Bible said that Job scratched himself with the shepherd herd, which is a piece of stone that he scratched himself to relieve himself. See, here's where we mess up. And next week, everything was back to normal. Not so. That went on for years. Years. So you think the little teeny time that the 6 months that you've been out of a job is the greatest affliction that you could ever think? You think because you have to deal with something physically every day to keep you alive, you think that affliction is something? There are folks that have to get hooked up to machines every day just to sustain their livelihood. Dialysis. Certain medications that some of us take today, if you wasn't taking it and you stopped, you wouldn't be here after a while. You gotta take it because it sustains your life. And we think of that as an affliction. This went on for years. To the point where Job's wife got fed up and said, what are you doing? You need to curse God. Note I'm trying to talk like a woman. Curse God. And die. That's what Job's wife told him to do. And then we won't even get into Job's friends. Oh my goodness. Job's friends came and said, you must have done something wrong. All of this got to Job. And if you read the story, Job began to hate his very existence. He cursed the very day that he was born. And he wished he was dead. That's what he said. But God told Satan, have you considered my servant Job? Despite all the great pressure, that's right, I'm talking about stress. Despite all of that pressure, despite all of that stress and pressure from his friends, stress and pressure from his wife, I'm telling you, man, yeah, I'm going to say that again, Brother Parker. Stress and pressure from his wife.
That's right. That's right. Make it plain.
From his wife. And Job stood up,
Yeah.
tightened his belt, stuck his chest out, put his chin up, kept that spine in his back. He would never be considered a SpongeBob. He would never be considered spineless. He would never be considered a jellyfish. Job stood up and told his wife, you a foolish woman, like all of the rest of them. And he didn't curse God. And he didn't die. Men need to be men. And stand up and do what is right.
Amen. Amen. You're right. Amen. That's true.
I can't say it no other way. It always lies on us.
Yeah.
It lies on us. We stand up for what is right.
Amen.
Amen.
Have you considered my servant